In a quiet Utah suburb, a decorated Green Beret vanished without a trace. His wife said he'd gone away for a week, but the truth was buried much deeper. Behind the walls of their million-dollar home lay a secret soaked in bleach and betrayal. And when her lover finally spoke up, what he revealed stunned the entire nation. If stories like this break your heart, take a moment to hit like. It helps more people hear Matthew's story. And tell us in the comments, what moment in this case hit you the hardest? Matthew Johnson was the kind of man people trusted with their lives. A decorated Green Beret with the Utah National Guard. He'd spent over a decade serving his country with quiet discipline. To his friends, he was calm, sharp, dependable, the guy who'd always have a plan. At home, though, things were different. His wife, Jennifer Gledhill, seemed like the picture-perfect spouse, a stay-at-home mom with a soft voice, 3 kids, and the kind of suburban life people envy. But behind closed doors, their marriage was a war zone. The fights started small: money, parenting, stress. But soon, they grew darker. Jennifer's texts to Matthew weren't just cold. They were cruel, belittling, and constant. Friends said she'd become unrecognizable. By mid-2024, divorce was on the table. Jennifer even tried to get a protective order against him, claiming she was afraid. But when a judge reviewed the videos she provided, it told a different story. Jennifer wasn't scared. She was combative, taunting him, trying to provoke a reaction. The judge denied her request, calling the relationship highly dysfunctional. That ruling came just 4 days before Matthew disappeared. Jennifer's world looked perfectly normal from the outside. Million-dollar home, smiling photos, 3 kids playing in the yard. But under that roof, something had already snapped. And what no one realized then was that Jennifer wasn't just done with her marriage. She was planning something much darker, because by the time September 20th rolled around, she wasn't just angry. She was ready, and what she did next would leave an entire community speechless. In the weeks before everything fell apart, Jennifer was playing 2 very different roles. To her family, she was the tired mom trying to hold things together. But to one man, her secret lover, she was something else entirely. The affair had been going on for months, hidden under late-night texts and whispered calls. Matthew didn't know, not at first. But when he finally found out, something in him broke. Friends later said he'd stopped sleeping at home because he didn't feel safe. He started crashing at a National Guard facility instead, trying to stay out of the chaos. Still, he loved his kids. That was his anchor. He'd confided in an old army friend that he was ready to file for divorce, not out of anger, but out of survival. He just wanted peace. But Jennifer had other plans. Days before the murder, she sent her father a text that read, "I need $13K by Friday." No explanation, no reason, just desperation. Her father sent $1,000 through Venmo. It wasn't enough, but apparently Jennifer wasn't waiting for the rest. That same day, she showed her lover a gun, Matthew's Glock 19X. It wasn't an empty threat. She was calm, even proud as she handled it, and then she made one more move that would later haunt investigators. She arranged for her 3 children to stay with her parents that weekend. On paper, that sounded innocent, but it wasn't, because while those kids were sleeping safely at Grandma's house, Jennifer was preparing to do the unthinkable. And when the sun rose over Cottonwood Heights, Matthew Johnson would be gone. September 20th, 2024. The Gledhill house looked peaceful from the outside. The kids were gone. The lights were low. But inside, something had been brewing all day. Tension, rage, betrayal. That night, Matthew confronted Jennifer about her affair. Neighbors would later report hearing shouting, a man's voice angry, hurt, a woman's voice loud, cutting back, then silence. Sometime after midnight, Matthew went to bed. He was exhausted, emotionally drained, maybe even resigned. He lay down in the master bedroom, unaware that it would be the last time he ever closed his eyes. Jennifer waited, calm, cold, calculated. And when she was sure he was asleep, she picked up his own 9mm handgun. 1 shot, that's all it took. After that, Jennifer didn't panic. She didn't call for help. She went into cleanup mode. She dragged his body into a rooftop storage container. Heavy, awkward, but she managed. Then, with eerie precision, she slid it down the stairs, loaded it into the back of the family's minivan, and smashed his phone. At dawn, She drove Matthew's truck a few blocks away and abandoned it, making it look like he'd simply left. Then she headed north toward Davis County with her husband's body in the car. There, in a shallow grave, she buried him, alone, unmarked, forgotten. When she came home, she cleaned everything. Bleach, carpet cleaner, new mattress, ordered online, delivered 2 days later. It was the perfect suburban cover-up, or at least she thought it was, because Jennifer was about to make one fatal mistake, one that would blow everything wide open. 2 nights after the murder, Jennifer couldn't hold it in anymore. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was arrogance. But just before midnight on September 22nd, she called her lover and she told him everything. The fight, the shot, the cleanup, the burial. She even explained the bruises on her arms. From burying him, she said, almost casually. Her tone was disturbingly normal, like she was talking about yard work. Her lover was horrified. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. So he did something smart. He recorded their next call. That recording became one of the most chilling pieces of evidence in the entire case. Because when he confronted Jennifer, she didn't deny it. She didn't even sound scared. She said, "Wow, if you think I could even hurt a fly." Then she added, "He wasn't a person anymore. He wasn't Matt." That line hit investigators like a punch when they later heard it. It showed a complete detachment. A woman who had dehumanized her husband to justify what she'd done. She even compared herself to the Queen of Hearts, saying, "Off with their heads." By now, Matthew hadn't even been reported missing. Jennifer was walking around free, smiling, pretending everything was fine, even telling people Matthew had gone away for a while. But her lover couldn't live with it. He kept the screenshots, the recordings, and the proof. And less than 2 weeks later, he'd walk into a police station with the evidence that cracked everything open. And when detectives entered that house, they instantly knew something terrible had happened there. When Cottonwood Heights detectives first entered the Gledhill home, they expected to find signs of a marital dispute, maybe a runaway, maybe a domestic fight. What they found instead was something far worse. The second they stepped inside, the smell hit them. Bleach, thick and sour. It clung to the air like guilt. Upstairs, the master bedroom looked too clean. The carpet was freshly scrubbed, the blinds wiped, the mattress practically new. But when they peeled the bedding back and used luminol, the truth came alive under the glow. A large blood stain beneath the bed, spots on the wall, smears on the slats of the bed frame. It was unmistakable. Someone had bled out here. When investigators checked Jennifer's phone records, things got even stranger. Just 3 days after the suspected murder, she'd ordered a new mattress online. It was delivered on September 26th. The timeline fit perfectly with her confession to her lover. Detectives also noticed that Matthew's truck was missing, but found abandoned a few blocks away. GPS data later showed Jennifer's phone moving between the house, the truck's location, and north toward Davis County, where she claimed she buried his body. The digital trail didn't lie. The only thing missing was Matthew himself. Police confronted Jennifer with the evidence, but she didn't crack. Calm as ever, she told them Matthew had gone off the grid. But her story kept shifting, and investigators knew she was hiding something. They just didn't know yet how many people were helping her hide it. By late October, police had enough to arrest Jennifer Gledhill for first-degree murder. But during the investigation, a new, disturbing pattern started to emerge, one that pulled her parents directly into the web. Neighbors told detectives they'd seen Jennifer's parents, Thomas and Rosalie Gledhill, at the house late at night a few days after the murder. They were cleaning for hours. When questioned, Rosalie claimed they just stopped by to grab clothes. But phone data told a different story. They were there for more than 5 hours. And when detectives checked her phone, it had been wiped completely, reset remotely. Every trace of her location data gone. Then came another twist. A search of their home turned up something chilling. A Glock 19X gun box wrapped in a child's onesie, hidden inside a plastic tote near Jennifer's old bedroom. That gun box matched the weapon Jennifer had shown her lover days before the murder. Even worse, her father accidentally gave himself away during questioning. When asked if he'd been inside the master bedroom, he replied, "I didn't go in where the incident happened." The room went silent. Police hadn't told him where the crime occurred. Thomas and Rosalie Gledhill were arrested, and charged with obstruction of justice. The story that had started as a domestic dispute was now a full-blown family conspiracy. And even as they sat behind bars, one haunting question remained. Where was Matthew Johnson's body? The search for Matthew's body turned into one of Utah's largest manhunts in years. Police combed through wooded areas, riverbeds, and remote terrain across 3 counties: Davis, Weber, and Box Elder. Drones scanned miles of rugged ground. Dozens of Matthew's old military friends volunteered to help, refusing to give up until they brought one of their own home. Meanwhile, forensic teams kept working on the digital side. GPS data from Jennifer's phone showed a clear route north from her house, the same direction she mentioned in her confession. Around Davis County, investigators found discarded bedding, pillows, and even a rolled-up rug that had once been inside the Gledhill bedroom, all of it stained with blood. Then came a grisly discovery: a large vehicle storage container floating in water. Inside was Matthew Johnson's blood. Jennifer's cleanup wasn't as perfect as she thought. As prosecutors built their case, the motive became clear. Jennifer had been cornered, financially and emotionally. A divorce would have cost her money, custody, maybe her image. But killing Matthew meant keeping everything: her house, her kids, and his $500,000 life insurance policy. Except now, that insurance company wasn't paying a dime, not until Matthew's body was found and a court decided who deserved it. And Jennifer? She was about to face her first day in court, but her calm demeanor there would leave even the judge uneasy. When Jennifer Gledhill walked into the Salt Lake County courtroom for her arraignment, she didn't look like someone accused of murder. She smiled faintly, her hair neat, her posture calm, as if she were attending a parent-teacher conference, not facing a life sentence. Prosecutors wasted no time. They laid out their evidence: the confession recordings, the GPS data, the bleach, the new mattress, the gun. It painted a picture so clear that even Jennifer's defense team could barely speak. And yet, when the judge asked for her plea, Jennifer looked up and said softly, "Not guilty." She showed no emotion when prosecutors described how Matthew had been shot in his sleep. No reaction when they read her words aloud. He wasn't a person anymore. He wasn't Matt. The prosecution argued she was dangerous, manipulative, and entirely unremorseful. They asked the judge to deny bail. Jennifer's lawyer insisted she wasn't a threat, that she was a devoted mother who deserved to go home. The judge disagreed. He called her a significant danger to the community and ordered her held without bail. As deputies led her away, she didn't cry. She didn't even look back. Outside the courthouse, Matthew's friends, tough, battle-hardened soldiers, stood shoulder to shoulder. Some had tears in their eyes, because even for men trained for war, this was different. This was betrayal, and they still hadn't found their brother's body. As months passed, the case of Jennifer Gledhill consumed Utah. Every headline carried her name. Every update reopened old wounds for Matthew's friends and family. Search teams kept going north, determined to find the missing soldier. They used dogs, drones, sonar, anything that could pick up a trace. But still, nothing. The land wouldn't give him up. Jennifer's parents, now both facing obstruction charges, kept their silence. Neither would admit to helping clean the scene, even when evidence showed they bought the replacement mattress themselves. Meanwhile, Matthew's family released a public statement. It wasn't angry. It was heartbreakingly simple. "We just want to bring Matt home." Their words struck a nerve across the country. People who'd never met him began following the case, leaving comments, sending letters, praying for answers. And through it all, Jennifer stayed behind bars, waiting for her trial, scheduled for December 2025. By then, one thing was certain: whether she confessed in court or not, the world had already heard her voice. The recording was enough to chill anyone, but the final twist wasn't about her words. It was about what she left behind. 3 young children who had lost both parents in one act of violence. One to murder, one to prison, and neither of them are coming home again. Today, the house in Cottonwood Heights stands quiet. The blinds are drawn. The laughter of children is long gone. Matthew Johnson is still missing, his body never found, his final resting place known only to the woman who took his life. Searchers still return to the hills sometimes, hoping to stumble upon something, anything. But years of wind and time have erased the trail. Jennifer sits in jail awaiting trial, facing 9 felony charges, including first-degree murder, desecration of a body, and obstruction of justice. Her parents, too, await their fate in court. Life insurance remains frozen. The children live with relatives, and Matthew's military brothers still call him one of the good ones. In the end, Jennifer Gledhill didn't just destroy her husband. She destroyed an entire family, a community, and the image of the perfect suburban life she tried so hard to keep. Every piece of evidence, every lie, every text, every drop of bleach tells the same story. A woman who wanted freedom and took it the only way she thought she could. And now, somewhere in the mountains of northern Utah, the wind still carries a question no one can answer. Where is Matthew Johnson? Because until he's found, the story of Jennifer Gledhill isn't over. What do you think really happened in this case? Tell us in the comments below. Subscribe to Crimexclusive and watch our next story uncover another mystery that refuses to stay buried.